As the adults, either in the classroom or at home, when it comes to modeling and expressing my anger, my joy, my sadness, talk me through about what I can do and can't do, what's healthy, what's unhealthy as a parent. And then I'd love to hear that from a teacher's perspective when you've got different restrictions, different expectations. How do we be what we're talking about to the kids that are looking at us every day?
Yeah, and I think, at the core of that is, children are they're always learning. Well, we're all always learning, but we know that childhood and adolescence is just this tremendous time of learning, and they learn vicariously. They learn through watching. Certainly the younger they are. And so we do want to make sure we're modeling these experiences of having the emotion first and foremost, but also being able to, manage those emotions in adaptive ways. They're not always going to literally be able to see that. So, it is talking about that. I'm really, oh gosh, I'm really nervous about making this phone call. But I'm just going to take a moment for myself and really think about what I want to say. And then I'm going to make this phone call, and then maybe I'll make a comment afterwards about how that went compared to how I was worried about how it would go, as an example. Talking through all of those stages of having the emotion, doing the thing, and then comparing, of that outcome. But children also learn through practicing, right? So we also want to make sure as parents and as teachers that we're able to provide the opportunities for kids to safely experience these feelings and resolve them with increasing independence, because they're not going to learn, in the moment. We know that when all of those big, huge emotions are coming up in a dynamic situation, as I said, the higher order parts of the brain, not really active. It's not the time for learning. It's not the time for teaching. And so the more that we're setting up opportunities to kind of more gradually, safely have these emotional experiences, and then resolve them, and as I said, with increasing independence, it's quite fine and actually expected that parents would do a lot of supporting of that with younger children. But as they move up through childhood and into adolescence, we want to see parents taking more of a guiding and then more of a back seat, because otherwise their support can actually get in the way of kids learning how to manage their emotions, and that can also have some not great outcomes.
Mm.
Interesting, just as you were saying that, I was thinking about, I had the privilege to work under Dr. Dan Siegel, and he used to talk about SIFT, and a lot of the work that we do is, really allowing young people not only to begin to understand what's happening in their brain because they're fascinated by it, like you were saying, Corey, like they just, when they can understand a little bit of what's happening in their brain, it's empowering to them. But also beginning to, and the question was around how do we model that, Jenny? One of the things that we noticed was when we started to model where we felt the emotion in our body and the sensations, because I remember in very, very early days of working with young people in schools, I remember this young person saying to me, "Oh, Miss Nikki, I feel really happy, just like a freshly cut orange through my whole body." And this is probably going back 18 years ago, but I, I can say this with conviction. I think young people access their somatic experiences much better than we as adults do. The ability, if I ask a young person if they're experiencing an emotion or if they're feeling a little frightened, put your hand on, tell me about it, describe it to me, tell me about your thoughts. Where if I said that to you, Jenny, right now, you'd be like, well, I think I'm thinking, and I'm not saying you're going to say that, but young people, particularly the really young people, are quite often able to access those. So modeling where I'm feeling like I'll be saying, I'm just feeling a little bit of fear because I think I left the blah, blah out this morning, or did I lock the cats? Being able to slow down and feel into my body. I also think it's an amazing opportunity for me, and I've seen it through so many adults, to learn at the same time as young people. because we didn't have that opportunity. And I've seen schools that really embrace bringing this in, genuinely getting interested, and then beginning to use like our emotion cards or the emotion check-in, or we get so many messages of, my wife told me that I'm starting to identify my emotions better, because we do it every day, because best practice trauma informed, we check in, we arrive and we check in, and it makes me smile. Like, it really makes me smile that we might not have had the science, we might not have known the why, but we also have an opportunity right now to join in and to learn new things too.